everyone, it's Shel from Paper Rock TO Studio. Today I'm sharing with you a 6-inch by 6-inch mixed media canvas that I am going to make 6 of them. Why am I going to make 6 of them? Well, as you guys may have noticed, our subscriptions to the channel have passed 6,000 and I usually do a giveaway. At 5,000, I didn't do a giveaway because my 4,000 giveaway was barely finished by the time I finished all the canvases. When I got to 5,000, I had just barely finished the 4,000 distribution of all the custom-made art for all the people who won. So I never did 5,000, so I'm going to do 6,000. But instead of doing what I have done for all the past giveaways, which is to have you answer questions and then make customized art based on the answers that the winners gave me, I'm just going to make 6 canvases the way I want to make them, and then when I get done making all 6, I'll have a random drawing. We'll randomize which canvases are which, and we'll randomize which people win, and then that's how the giveaway will happen. So that all being said, I'm not sure how long it's going to take me to get done with 6 canvases because I'm in the process of moving my studio into the bigger room that was vacated when my son moved to college. So that's a process that I'm in the middle of. Also, I'm going to be taking a old-fashioned driving trip, excuse me, up to Oregon to see the eclipse in August. So that'll be gone for I think it's 12 days or something, driving up the California coast, the Oregon coast, and then popping over to a place to watch the eclipse. So that's what I'm doing, and that's where I'll be at. And so it may take me a while to get done with all these canvases, but they're going to be random. They're going to be just whatever I feel like doing. And because I didn't know what I was starting this canvas with, I decided to do collage because that is my go-to favorite thing to do. And so I have a box next to my chair on the floor that has all kinds of different scraps in it from this and that and another thing in this project and that project. And I sometimes get around to going through the box, tearing up the pieces and putting them in my color boxes for paper painting. I haven't done that in a while. The box is overflowing. Things need to be put away, but that's all going to happen when I move my studio because I will have to go through every single thing, rearrange everything, and get better organized and into different types of storage and stuff like that. So that box is sitting on the floor next to my desk. Picked it up, picked out a few things that I liked and the colors that I liked, and the papers are different textures, different weights. Some of it's watercolor paper, some of it is deli paper. So I'm using the Liquitex matte gel format medium to glue everything down because it's thick enough to glue those harder, thicker papers down, as well as you can use it on the thinner paper too. So that's what I used. I did a lot of pressing things down with my fingers to make sure that everything was smooth. There was no bubbles, things like that. I used a credit card to press some of it down and squeeze out the gel till I was satisfied that everything was well glued. And then I went ahead and dried that with my heat tool. Now I have out some PBO iridescent paints. These are the Dyna line of their paints, and they're so shimmery and pretty. I just really like to use them. So I'm applying them with my fingers to blend the papers so that it looks like a cohesive unit. It's all a background. It's not, this piece over here and this piece over there. And as I was looking at it, I realized that what I made was an ocean and a sunset. I didn't really intend to do that. I just was putting together papers and patterns and colors that I liked, and I ended up coming up with that. So I decided to go with that because one of the papers that I had picked out of the bin was a mermaid, and I thought, oh, well, I could do a mermaid. So that's when the idea came to me because I saw that piece of paper. It's actually under that other one there still, but um, I'm still kind of unifying the background using, and now I've got out a little bit of white gesso to add to it. Also, that spiral shape in the lower right corner reminded me of a shell, like a nautilus shell. So that was another reason that I decided that it was indeed an ocean scene. And if there's an ocean scene, there's going to be a mermaid. The next thing I did was to add a little bit of bubbly texture using a stencil. Um, I will look up what stencil this is and put it in the description box below, but it's one that I use often. I call it a bubbles stencil, but I don't know for sure if that's what it's called. I'm using light molding paste from Golden. This is a kind of a foamy. When it's dry, it's kind of squishy and foamy. It's interesting stuff, but I like it because it dries quickly as opposed to some of the other texture pastes which do not dry quickly. So that's why I'm using it. I'm putting it in a few different spots just to add a little bit of texture and more shape because it looks like bubbles, you know, water, bubbles, ocean. You get the idea. It's all coordinated. Of course, I didn't want to cover up that shell shape in the corner, so I made sure that I didn't cover that up. A couple of the other things that I had grabbed from my little box sitting next to the desk with random stuff in it is some beads and some glittery rub-on stars, and those definitely end up going with my theme very well. The next thing I did was using this stamped image on the turquoise paper as a idea or an inspiration. I drew a mermaid. I used an Inktense pencil to draw her because as I started out with my graphite pencil, but it was too light. I couldn't see what I was drawing, and I tried that other drawing pencil, the Derwent drawing pencil. It was still not dark enough. So I decided to go ahead with the water-soluble product, which Inktense pencils are. They're watercolor pencils in that when you apply water, they do smear and run, but once they're dry, they become a permanent ink. So they're a very unique pencil and very useful for mixed media. I will link my set of those as well as every other product that I used on this project in the description box below the video. And those links, I'll put links, and those will be to Amazon, to my Amazon affiliates situation where if you click on those, I do get a couple cents if you buy the product. So I appreciate it if you are going to buy something that you see me use, that you use the affiliate links, because that helps me stay in paint somewhat. Not very much, but somewhat. So then my next step was to use white gesso and paint in the mermaid shape. This gesso is pretty, it's not as thick. It's my lighter gesso. It's actually an off-brand Daler Rowney, maybe. I don't know. It's not. It's one that I got at Walmart, but it's one of the lighter weight, like the Liquitex Basics type of gesso. So I can still see my lines through it, and it does help me blend those blendy Inktense pencil lines as well. So they kind of become a shadow around the edge. Then I take that same pencil and go around the shape of the mermaid at the bottom and some of the shapes in the ocean portion of my scene, as well as the edge where the ocean meets the sky, to add some shadows and more definition to the shapes. And I'm just blending that with the plain plain inexpensive brush. The thing about brushes, I go through a lot of them, so I don't usually talk about them unless they are something special, like a special brush that I only use for certain things. Most of my brushes are pretty trashed. They're inexpensive and I'm not careful with them. You know, I mean, I do put them in water so that they don't, so the bristles don't seize up, but I don't worry too much about how I'm abusing them. When you use a brush in gesso and then you use it in something else and then you use it in gesso again, like I'm doing right now, it can tend to really mess up your brushes. So supposedly you can fix them by using Murphy's oil soap and letting them soak, but I haven't really tried it yet. I did buy the soap, but I haven't tried it. So what I was doing there was I colored some pink and some orange Inktense pencil on my deli paper, and then I mixed water and gesso and those pencils all together to make a skin tone and colored in my little mermaid. Then I decided I wanted to put these beads on. These, I finally remembered where these beads came from. It was in a little zipper pot, you know, plastic bag, just sitting around. And I remember these used to be on my my jelly print journal that I finished, and I had the little beads hanging off the end, and it broke, and I was going to fix it. So I saved all the beads and was going to, thread them back on there on my little dangle. And then one of my kind viewers made me a dangle because she saw where I had broken it, and so I put that one on the book. And so I had this little pocket of little beads, color coordinated from my stash that were just sitting around. So this is where I used them up. Now I don't have that little pocket of beads anymore. And I'm happy because I have too much stuff laying around. So what I applied those onto the canvas with was 3D gloss gel. It's a heavy glossy gel, and I applied that to the canvas and then embedded the beads into it so they stick on there. And I did put one in her hands, like she was looking at a pearl or something, but it was too bulky, so I removed it and I drew a seagull in her hands instead, like she's talking to the seagull. So I liked that better. Having that one bulky round bead stuck up there just didn't work. And I did have to go away for, well, I think I left it for probably about 6 hours because as I was working on it, I kept bumping into the beads and they were moving around and getting sloppy and getting all over my hands. So I set this aside and let it dry for some amount of time and then came back to it. So now I'm back to it. I've painted in her tail. The first coat is some more of that PBO iridescent paint. It's either green yellow or yellow green, but I will list it below with the numbers and everything and the links. These are great paints. If you like shimmery stuff, you should get some of these PBO Dyna iridescents because they're pretty awesome. Yesterday when I was talking to some other people, they said that they are available at Hobby Lobby. Not my Hobby Lobby. They don't have PBO there, but I guess some other ones do. My Hobby Lobby is just basically, I mean, there's hardly any art supplies in it. It's just the whole thing is full of pre-done handmade looking items. It's weird. It's like, where's the art supplies? There's a few art supplies in the back. And yeah, Tucson doesn't have a really good selection of art supply stores. That's the reason that I buy everything at Amazon because I can get a good price. I have that Prime, so I get free shipping. I mean, I pay for Prime but I use it for also for streaming and all different other stuff. So books and things like that. So I'm not too worried about that because I have, then that makes all my shipping free. So I really like Amazon. So to finish coloring in everything, I'm just using the Inktense pencils and a little bit of white gesso occasionally to color in, the rest of the mermaid and more definition around shapes and this and that and things like that, applying the pencil and then blending it with water on that nasty scrubby brush. Could have got out a better brush, probably should have. Also, I do bring in some illustration pins at some point. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment so I know you're here. Subscribe if you haven't, and turn on that little notification bell if you want to be notified of every video. If you don't turn on the bell, you will not be notified of every single video that I put out. And I do put out videos quite frequently, so it's worth it to turn that thing on. And of course, share. If you're in a Facebook group all about mermaids, you can share it or whatever. I don't know. So now I have these rub-ons. I think these were from when I was doing a collaboration with Shimmery Art with Peg and Eva and Sherry. Yeah, we did a 4-month collaboration about shimmery art. I think one of them sent me those glittery shimmery rub-ons. They're pretty cool. Usually rub-ons are black, and these are like a glitter. So, of course, star shape, so that's like sea stars. So I put a few of those on. And then now that's where I've got out my illustration pins. These are Pitt pins for artists. That's an India ink, so it's permanent. And there's several different tip sizes in the kit. I'm just using the small tip, and I'm just, drawing around, adding definition to my image, my illustration, basically. I just like the way that looks. I like to draw around things. So I may break myself of that someday and become more painterly, but I don't know when that's going to happen because I like illustration. I think it makes her stand out from the canvas background quite a bit more. I also drew in a lot of little scales on her tail. Excuse me. So now I'm adding some shading using that same pencil, that dark teal colored pencil, by drawing it around the scales. I don't want to interrupt the center part of the scales because I want that to be light. So instead of just, drawing over everything, I'm trying to be a bit careful about where I apply the pencil. Of course, when I put the water on there, it smears a little bit, but I get the effect I want. It's adding in shading around, at the bottom of her bottom. And that, there would be shade around there, then there would be under the legs. Then to brighten it back up and make it even more interesting, I use a skewer and a little bit of that iridescent green-blue paint and just dab it on so that the scales are now green and blue shimmery scales, which makes it more interesting. Sometimes a skewer is all you need. This is a bamboo skewer from the kitchen, but I use it for a lot of different things in my studio, including unclogging things. It works great for that. It also works good for applying marks on with acrylic paint. So you can scratch into paint with it to make, interesting dimension in your paint. There's all kinds of things you can do with the skewer. I keep coming back to that dark teal pencil and adding more shading everywhere. That time it was underneath the stars. Then I had got too much white gesso up here in the sky, and it was looking wasn't as colorful as it once was, so I'm adding back in some color with a couple different Inktense pencils. I decide that there needs to be more pink. You know, at this point I'm fussing. It's just final details. Trying to get a little bit more color in her face. I don't love her face. I realize that I lack in drawing profiles, and I'm going to need to work on that quite a bit. But, you know, you can't be perfect. Nobody is. I added a little bit of white Posca to just help me add some highlights into very small spaces. So I think I'm about done, and this is the first of six 6x6 canvases that I'm going to give away, and I'll let you know more about that in a vlog when I get done with all the canvases, but you'll see them coming across as my videos come out. So that's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.